Hey, thanks for tuning in. So in this video, what I'm gonna show you is what I did in this truck to resolve some holes that I had along the top of the rail of the bed of the truck and inside the bed of the truck where it seems that they used to have a fuel tank attached to the bed of the truck. So this is not a video on how to weld. I'm assuming that you already know how to weld and that you have a welder. I'll have other videos in the future showing you how to weld and how you should do it. But this one is not about that. It's just about this truck in particular and what I did to take care of these holes. Now, what I used on this truck for welding is this Millermatic 180. Now, any welder would have worked. This particular job, the welds were so small, I had to do fairly a limited amount of welds that it wasn't a big deal. It could have been with any other welder. I could have used one from Northern Tools or from Harbor Freight, anything like that. It would have worked. If you have a friend that has a welder, or maybe if you had something similar to this, you can maybe take it to somebody that knows how to weld. Take it to a welder and they would be able to handle it. It wasn't a big deal whatsoever. Now, the holes here on top of the bed, they were probably the size of a pencil. That wasn't an issue. It was very easy to fill it in with the MIG welder. It took me a minute or two per hole, and I think it probably had about 6 or 7 on each side. Now, what I did before I started to weld, obviously, and this goes with everything, is you need to clean up the metal and get it down to bare metal. You shouldn't be welding on top of any paint or any rusted metal or anything like that. It's just not going to weld correctly, and it's just not going to work. So I use this little die grinder with a 3-inch grinding pads on it, 24 grit. You clean it up, and it welded just fine. Make sure you have a good ground. You clean up where the ground goes when you attach the MIG welder to the bed of the truck or whatever you're welding, and it'll weld nice without an issue. Now, you have to make sure that you wear eye protection. If you don't wear eye protection, your cornea is going to get messed up. You can end up hospitalized, and there's even potential for you going blind, you know. So that was pretty easy to take care of. Now, the inside of the bed where I had the fuel tank wasn't a big deal either. Now, the holes were a little bit bigger, and what I ended up doing was those holes were basically, they were round. They were perfectly round. And what I did is I used these hole saws. Now, these hole saws, I got these like at Home Depot or something like that. You could get it at any hardware store. I ended up cutting them out basically to the exact size that it needed to be. They were a little bit overlapping, and it worked out great. What I did for that is I used this floorboard that I had from a previous job. Now, this here is from a 72 Chevy pickup, something like that. I don't remember the exact year. Maybe it was a 73. Any sheet metal will work, whatever you have laying around, whether it's an old hood, an old fender. If you need to go to a junkyard, go get some sheet metal. As long as you have it, you know, basically the same gauge of steel. The closer the gauge, the better it is. It'll be easier for you to weld, but you know, anything will basically work. Once I cut those pieces of steel out, right, like you could see there, I cleaned it up with the die grinder. And what I use, and this is a very important step that a lot of people don't do, when you're joining those pieces of steel, there's always a chance that there'll be some of that steel that isn't welded through, you know, especially on auto body work. When you're laying steel on top of steel, there's always this area that stays exposed. So what you need to use is some Weld-Thru Primer. You shoot this on the pieces of steel that are going to join up, and make sure that if the weld doesn't cover the whole entire piece of steel that was exposed, that it stays primered and that it doesn't have the chances of it rusting or, you know, or anything like that, corrosion coming through, you know, you minimize that issue. So once you have that all done, it's pretty hot here. We're in the middle of winter and it's hot down here in South Florida, sorry. Once I had that all done on this truck, I welded, no problem. I ran right through this job. It came out pretty good. Now I'm going to show you the fast motion video, but before I show you that, I want to tell you thank you very much for all your support, your emails, your comments. All of that gives me major inspiration, and it keeps me, you know, enthusiastic to continue to do these videos. So if you have any questions, if you have any issues with the jobs that you're doing, feel free to ask, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And usually I try to do it within the same day or within 24 hours. You can email me at lewis@lemonheadpress or leave a comment down there in the comment section associated with this video. And that's it. I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. I'll be seeing you next time.